studies abound that up to 90% or more of people who are suicidal is from an illness, okay, and close to 90 or 85% of them is from a mental illness. 70%, is caused by a depression, and depression is a mental illness. So when people are depressed, they have hopelessness, they have worthlessness, they have guilt, what they call delusions of guilt. So in that situation, they feel that life is not worth living, and therefore they wish they died. So we understand the causes of suicidal behavior, which he says he does not. Okay, so the causes are there, and largely depression, bipolar disorder,
Okay.
schizophrenia, alcohol abuse, and in developing world, in socio-economic status also can, poor socio-economic status can lead. So we understand the causes. So to say that because somebody has an illness, so let's punish him for having an illness. So it's just akin to saying that somebody is obese, doctors have told him to lose weight, control your blood pressure, control your blood sugar, your diet, and there are people, and the people are not doing it. So since they're not doing it, they are likely to die, and that means we should punish them for not losing weight.
Now, Doc, you have read into these issues, of course, you being a consultant in the area and a lecturer. What informed it's being classified as a crime in the first place?
Yes, I'm very happy you're asking this question, because the history or the genesis of it being a crime is from the Judo Christianity background, where we thought it was a sin. And then in the Middle Ages, up to maybe the 19th century, where there were empires and states where they believed that life is a property of the crown. So for us being colonized by the British, okay, we believe, the British believe that every life in its colonies belong to the crown. So that if you take a life belonging to the crown, you are stealing from the crown. So this is kind of like economic, okay? And if you take your own life, you are still taking a life that belongs to the crown. Unfortunately, we made this into our law in 1960 in the criminal code. The British themselves repealed this law in their law in 1961. So about 60 years down the line, we are upholding it. So the thinking has changed, and currently there's no developed economy, okay, no big economy that still punishes suicidal behavior. The biggest one, the last of it to repeal it, was India. That's the biggest economy, the last to repeal criminal, and they did it in 2014, about 5 years ago.
And that's where they actually found, like you were saying earlier, that economic status could actually be linked to suicidal tendencies. Doc, I'd ask that you hold on a moment for me. Let's look at the face of what we are talking about. Mrs. Favor Brown is a chemical engineer who survived suicide. Now, Mrs. Brown, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the program.
So you say you survived suicide.
Yes.
What happened 10 years ago?
Yeah, I went through depression because of a relationship breakdown. I had gone through this for like several years, but I actually didn't know I was depressed. So with time, things got really bad, and I felt that, there was no need living again. Because I felt, this was a marriage that should be something that should last forever, and so it should not end. So it really had a toll on me. So I actually attempted, and I was taken to the Tema General Hospital, where I was treated for the intake of I took Parazone, and then they discharged me. Unfortunately, I was not referred to a psychiatrist, so I still had the ideation, on and on. I felt several times to jump and to crash in another vehicle when I'm driving, and then several other thoughts that came to mind. But I got psychotherapy while in the U.S., and then I became better. When I got well and then returned to Ghana, I decided to champion suicide prevention, because I realized that if I survive, that means that it is something that is preventable, and it's just a condition I was in. I was not well, and I was treated, and I got well.
Now, Mrs. Brown, at a point, we understand you were reported to the police.
Yes, at Sherman Police Station. I was reported by my husband then, and the police commander was very magnanimous, I must say. He tried to rather seek for help for me instead of proceeding with what the law says. If he had proceeded, I should have been in prison for some time. So by now, I should have been an ex-convict.
So at that time, the policeman on duty or the commander there, by his own discretion, treated you as someone who is sick, not as someone who is just trying to kill yourself.
Yes. I remember immediately they came to the office. I was at work on that day when he sent one of his men to come for me. So when I got to the police station, I was like, I don't know what I'm here for. And he told me, we had a report that you tried to take your own life, and you know that suicide is a crime, and you can't take it. And I said, I didn't know that suicide is a crime. But the state that I was at the time, prison was not a solution to my problem. I really didn't bother whatever happened. All I wanted is to end the pain I was feeling. So even if I knew, I don't think it would have deterred me. I just wanted a solution, an instant solution to pain.
So you didn't really care if you went to jail or not?
No, at all. Because subsequently, like I said, the thoughts were there. Even when I got to know it was a crime. Even at the time, I was rather now thinking of, if I now know that it's a crime, then I have to use a sure means of death. I have to make sure that if I try this time, it has to succeed. So I was not going to go with the Parazone thing. I was going to try something bigger, something that would definitely succeed.
Mrs. Brown, why would your husband report you to the police? What did he?
At the time, he felt that if I died, then that meant that they would come to arrest him. They would say he was the reason why I died, or probably he also didn't know what to do at the time. That's what I think. He felt that, okay, to secure his own safety, the best thing was to report.
So you feel at the time that he was protecting himself?
Yes. Afterwards, that was what he said. That was what he said. He was advised by his sisters to report it to the police because if I subsequently succeed, they would arrest him.
Is this same person the one who was the cause of your mental illness?
Yes. The breakdown of the relationship was, I wouldn't want to just say him. It's like that things were not working. And instead of, being bold enough to say that, this thing is not working, so let's go our separate ways, I still was trying my possible best to make it work because of my Christian background and then the fact that this was my first ever relationship. And I felt that, marriage is for life. And so I didn't want to be seen as I had failed in that area. So I wanted it to succeed by all means. But things were getting out of hand.
So the issue of fear of failure also played a role?
Yes. I felt that, this shouldn't end. Okay. It has to continue. And so, it was over time. So I was brooding over the pain of certain events that had occurred in the marriage. I was brooding. It wasn't like, it took me time. It took, after I became well and then understood what depression really is, I realized that it's like I started getting depressed even as far back as 5 years back. But as and when the incident, things happened, I would push it aside and try to move on. But my strength was depleted with time.
So when you hear this debate going on in Parliament, Mrs. Brown, where we have senior members of Parliament and lawyers saying that people like you should be called ex-convicts or criminals, how do you react?
Since last week, I've been very sad. I've been sad because I feel our parliament has gotten it all wrong. All wrong. I was just telling my director, Dr. Dodoy, this morning, that even for Haruna Idrisu to, say such a thing, it's a sad because this same man, 2015, he gave me an award. He was then the youth and employment minister. And after the incident in 2010, when I got well, I became a union leader and a National Women's Committee chairperson of our union. And I received an award from him. So I look at it and I'm like, if he really would be told the truth that even after 2010, that incident, I was able to get back on my feet and then, rise to the level of becoming a national union leader and receiving an award from him, then he would appreciate the fact that, it was just a condition, just like any other medical condition. And if I was given the right treatment and I got well, any other person in such a circumstance or situation today should be treated the same way. If I was in prison, the 2015 award he gave me, I wouldn't have received it because I would have still been in prison. Or probably tried it and succeeded in prison because I was not ready to take any other pain beyond what I was going through.
Dr. Mrs. Brown,
yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's
Thank you.
It's a very, very humbling situation. I mean, for her to survive all of this and become a nationally acclaimed chemical engineer,
my soul so weary.
Makes us all want to sit down and think, doesn't it, Dr. Dodoy? Let me take your final words on the matter. What would you say?
So the sad thing is that, I think the discussion in Parliament also said that nobody in our laws have been jailed for that. In fact, in 2011, one Kwejo Abebiu was jailed for 3 months. In 2015, another man, Enoch Kogo, who attempted suicide in court, was jailed for 2 years. So if people like Mrs. Brown were also jailed, okay, she would have become an ex-convict now. And that means that people who are productive, if we send them to jail because they are ill, then we lose our brain and brawn potential. The young people who usually get these conditions. I talk to many young people with bipolar who have all attempted suicide before. And as a doctor, if this law remains in the books, it means that I'm supposed to report all of them because they have all committed crime. And because of this, we cannot even do studies into suicidal behavior because it is still a crime. And this is a retrogressive thinking that people who are sick, people who have symptoms of their illness should be punished. And it is nowhere that we can legislate to treat people. We don't use laws to treat any condition. So I think Parliament should have to look at this very much.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that, it is retrogressive and all that, we all have a basic human right to health care. So what we are seeing, there's a saying in account that when you be ama wasia,
okay.
So these are people we cannot provide good mental health care for, but rather we are punishing them for being sick. In addition, when we cannot help them. So I think this discussion must really, it beats my imagination. We even had the daughter of a certain parliamentarian lose her life through suicide. And look at the terms we even use. We don't commit suicide. People die by suicide. It's no crime to have suicidal thoughts. It is no crime that when you feel that you cannot go through pain again, you wish to die. It is no crime that your mind went that way. Nobody calls for an illness. So to say that because you are ill, we should punish you, then probably many more people. And coming to the studio today, I wanted to get some young people to come and share their stories, how many times they have attempted. I have many people who have attempted. Unfortunately, I couldn't secure them immunity from prosecution. If they come, they are going to confess to a crime. Are we okay to say that they should come out and confess that yes, I was suicidal and I attempted? I think going forward as a country, let's look at this law. the people who gave us this law have repealed this law themselves. Why are we holding on to it? Why don't we want to provide health care to our people? Why don't we want to solve the problem? It's solved in 3 prongs. There are people who are predisposed. If you have a family member who have attempted suicide before, if you yourself have attempted suicide before, if you have a thought before, if there's any trigger like a mental illness like bipolar, addiction, depression, schizophrenia, and if people have means of death, that is hanging, firearms, water bodies. If we can protect and limit the means of death, we can prevent suicide. And Mrs. Fifa Brown has a foundation that people who are suicidal, please come out. It is a disease. It is not your fault to be suicidal. Call for help, and we are here to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eugene Dodoy. He's a senior lecturer and psychiatrist consultant, making his voice heard there. It's time for us to wrap up with today's Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. It's been quite a roller coaster. We started in the we started in schools in the eastern region, went to the border Nigeria between Nigeria and Benin, and we came back to Parliament. My name is Daniel Daze. This has been today's show. Tomorrow we'll be back. Up next is the Cosmopolitan. The news at the top of the hour, and then the Cosmopolitan mix. But Casa Trasaco is packed with a new full range of exclusive furniture